Generally speaking, all living beings capable of radiating energy at a particular vibration will sooner or later form an energy pendulum. Vadim Zeland.
Ever since I learned the Hermetic Principles a long time ago, I started to realize that there's evidence of the Hermetic Principles everywhere you go in everyday life, especially the Hermetic Principles of rhythm and polarity. The Hermetic Principle of polarity means that you can't know what something is without comparing it to its exact opposite, or you can't have one thing without the exact opposite. Like you can't know what light is without there being darkness. And rhythm means that energy in the universe moves in a sort of like a pendulum back and forth, like in cycles, like the ocean tides or our life cycles. And so once I started reading Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zeland, he really helped me understand this whole idea of pendulums, of these energy pendulums all over the universe, and how your thought is energy that never goes away. As soon as you think a thought, that energy never vanishes. He says it goes on and is connected to the entire universe. And it really helped me understand and put a picture into all of this, because he said that space, even though it seems empty, it really is a whole system of interconnected pendulums of energy. So when you think a certain thought, it's not knocking over, but it's moving and influencing infinite amount of these energy pendulums throughout the entire universe. And that's why if you think a certain thought, that certain person may think of you back, because you are interconnected. And that energy is influenced out and coming back like a pendulum. So when you think a thought, it's a pendulum that you're pushing forward. And when another person thinks that same thought, it's pushing more and more pendulums together and building this momentum. And that's what happens when there's fashion trends. Anything that becomes really popular, it's basically an example of a pendulum, an energy pendulum, where a whole bunch of people are adhering to that pendulum. That's what Vadim Zeland calls it, adhering to a pendulum. Whenever you follow a trend, whenever you believe a certain religion or a certain philosophy or a certain person, if you are a fan of a certain singer, it's basically, they're all forms of pendulums that you're adhering to, meaning that you're thinking about it and you're reacting emotionally to it, and it's influencing your behavior, and it's influencing, like if you're a fan of a certain superstar that's really popular right now, you're following that pendulum of that certain superstar. You're gonna listen to their music, you're gonna go see them in concert, you're gonna go buy their merchandise, and then eventually that superstar singer may not be as popular anymore. Eventually those fashion trends won't be as popular anymore. So that's the equivalent of the pendulum swinging back. So that really helped me understand the power of our thoughts and why the energy of our thoughts influences the entire universe. Think of it like a pendulum, and one little thought may seem like one little ripple. One little thought can really change your life. Think of it. You're holding a thought, and if you think of it as a sort of pendulum of energy that's swinging back and forth, at first it may not seem like it's making much of a difference. But the more you think that thought, the more you feel that vibrational frequency, build that momentum, eventually you're going to start noticing, with the principle of correspondence, the universe reflecting back to you, because everything is interconnected like pendulums swinging back and forth. So this is all really helpful for me when it comes to, like if I'm having a bad day or somebody comes along that is rude, that person is basically what Vadim Zeland calls a pendulum man. It's like someone throwing a pendulum right at you. Bam! How do you like that? Why are you hitting yourself, huh? Bam! So it's like, do you let it hit you or not? And this is the best part. It can be someone that's trying to hurt you or life bringing you down, whatever it may be. He said to basically empty yourself inside. Let that pendulum swing right through you. As if you don't, like being without an ego, what Eckhart Tolle says. That's what, whenever you get caught up in what someone says, whenever you react negatively, it's like, the reason why is because it's fear. You're reacting out of fear. You think you're not going to survive your image, your self-image of yourself, of who you think you are. If somebody or something challenges that, it hits you. That's why it bruises your ego. But if you don't have an ego, that pendulum will just keep swinging and there's not going to be anything that's going to help it continue on. It's like being on a swing and there's some sort of bully or someone that's trying to hurt you, and they're pushing that swing. And if you're on that swing, you're gonna swing along with that. Don't get on the swing, meaning don't let that affect your self-image. Don't have one. Basically empty yourself inside. Still your mind. Like that saying, be still and know I am God. So that really helped me put a picture to a lot of different things. So when someone's being mean to me or whatever, pendulum. So pendulums, they can be destructive. He's basically, Vadim Zeland says all pendulums in nature are destructive, but you can use them in your favor as long as you don't get too tied up with anything, like even your own success. If you identify your self-image with your success, what happens if you're not as successful anymore? But we can still manifest. We can still manifest. It's about having fun and enjoying life. And one thing Abraham Hicks says, that once you have manifested something, what comes, it goes. Just like pendulums, even that is going to come and go, and then you're going to think about something else that you want to manifest. Now you want to think about that next big amount of money that you want to make, or that next job, or that next relationship, or that next car. When is it going to end? You know, so how about if you can just enjoy what you do have and still continue to manifest with your thoughts and swing that energy pendulum and get back what you do want, but at the same time not get too identified with it, with your ego, so you won't let that pendulum hit you and bruise you over and over again, or you won't be easily swayed. So just remember that a magical pendulum is really any thought you have. Any thought you have, you're holding on, you're swinging that pendulum and creating momentum. And that energy pendulum is influencing the entire universe. Everything is basically a pendulum of energy. So going back to the pendulum man, or the person that's trying to or another word, an energy vampire, somebody who wants to bring you down, that's their form of swinging that pendulum towards you by simply throwing you off balance. That's all they're trying to do is throw you off balance. They're trying to say or do something unexpected so you can react in a certain way. So if you just remember, it's just another pendulum, just let it swing. And that's the thing, is that there will be a momentum. So say like you're self-aware enough to know that there's this pendulum swinging back and forth, something that you don't want in your life, and it's there. You know it's a pendulum, and you're letting it swing. There will be a momentum. So maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe throughout the day, you might still feel that momentum going back and forth. As long as you are empty inside, if you're still inside, that momentum will die down eventually. But let's say it hasn't died down completely, and you start to let it get to you again, then that's when you start to swing that pendulum even faster again, when it was already almost going to completely die down with its momentum. So that is a perfect illustration, for me at least, for manifesting and staying on track of what you want to manifest. Vadim Zeland calls it the outer funnel, I believe, the outer funnel of the pendulum. And when you can sense that outer edge, you still have a chance to adhere to it and get back to it. So it's important, and I think this is a good way, that this illustration, to stay on track, to remember. Because sometimes it all comes down to just remembering, to remember in the moment when things are not going the way you want them to go. So he calls it the fall through of the pendulum. So if there's something that you don't want, if there's something that is some sort of negative energy, instead of like thinking about what you need to do, just stay calm, breathe, and relax. That's equivalent to letting that pendulum fall through and letting that momentum just die down. And once that momentum dies down, you'll know what to do. You'll get that the instincts, the intuitive guidance, the synchronistic events. You'll attract the things that you want to attract, and it usually happens in a very unexpected, surprising way. And one last awesome thing about this magical pendulum process, which is your thoughts, the energy of your thoughts, and whether or not you adhere to the thought energy of other people or other events, is that you can direct this thought energy specifically to certain people. Imagine this thought energy as a pendulum, and you're swinging it towards that certain person. But you want to make sure that you're thinking positive thoughts, because if you're thinking negative thoughts towards that person, it's going to come back to you. So just remember that your thought is a thought energy pendulum that's swinging back and forth. The more you think it, the more you're swinging it. And the more it's swinging, the more it's gaining momentum, the more it's building this sort of attraction, this magnetism of all the relevant things of that has to do with that thought, whether it's people or events. It's all going to come towards you, and it's all influencing, that thought energy is influencing all the energy pendulums throughout space and time.